that sound like?
You hear it?
Yes, appreciate this.
You hear something? You're lying. You're messing.
We are not taking homes away from people that could be buying those homes. We're actually building homes that they might not even be able to afford. Average rent is about $2,200. Well, when you buy a same-like home, 3 and 4 bedrooms, it's 50% less than owning.
Today, I have got a special guest with us, Colleen Yeager, recognized as one of the most admired and inspiring women in real estate earlier this year in 2025, but also a mentor to the next generation of leaders. And earlier this year, you actually won an award.
But, my reward is seeing people succeed around. That's such a reward. I want somebody to look back and go, wow, I used to work for Colleen and she took the time to show raising the bar. People winning is really important to me.
Welcome to another episode of Inside the Vendor Network. I am your host, Yvonne Kenny, and today I have got a special guest with us, Colleen Yeager, the COO of Quinn Residences. Welcome to the show, Colleen. This has been a long time in the making, you and I putting this show together. We've put a massive amount of energy and work into this thing.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Colleen is the Chief Operating Officer at Quinn Residences, where she leads operations for one of the nation's fastest growing DRC
dedicated
companies. And so let's pause there and we're going to get right back to her introduction. But one of the things we're introducing today is a new acronym, and that is DRC. So what is DRC?
Dedicated rental community.
Rentals communities. All right, let's go back to the introduction and we're going to come back to DRC and what a dedicated rental community is. Today we are going to retire like a good old Jersey BTR. It's done. We won't be using that.
We won't be using it at Quinn.
We won't be using it at Quinn. So with more than 40 years of experience in the real estate industry, Colleen has become one of the most respected leaders in the single family rental and multifamily housing industry. Her career includes senior leadership roles at Equity Residential and Invitation Homes, where she managed thousands of homes and guided teams through IPOs, mergers, and periods of rapid growth. Colleen has built a reputation for driving operational excellence, improving resident experiences, and creating team cultures that reduce turnover and inspire performance. At Quinn Residences, she's helping address the nationwide housing shortage by building modern, purpose-driven rental communities that integrate technology, sustainability, and service. Her leadership philosophy is simple but powerful. Get your hands dirty, walk the talk, teach, and elevate. Recognized as one of the most admired and inspiring women in real estate earlier this year in 2025, Colleen is not only a trailblazer in her field, but also a mentor to the next generation of leaders. She continues to shape how communities are built, operated, and experienced across the country. And I am very proud as one of her mentees in this industry, to have her on the show. So welcome to the show, Colleen. And we are sitting in your beautiful office.
We are.
And quite the view.
Buckhead.
We're in Buckhead.
Yes.
And very walkable area. So you get to walk to work when you come into town.
Walk to work.
Yeah.
Walk to Publix.
And
walk to dinner.
Walk to dinner. So let's start with a little bit of career and industry experience. So again, we said 40 years in the real estate industry. So when I don't know if you know this, but so there's a group of women, right, that us rising women look at, and you're among this group of women, and we call them the queen bees. Did you know that you're in a group called the Queen Bees?
No, did not.
Yes. So the Reshma Blocks and the Colleen Yeagers and the Christy Desjardins and the Alicia McPhees, this is a class of women that a lot of us other women really look up to in this space. And earlier this year, I mean, you actually won an award, and we're recognized as one of the most inspiring and admired women in real estate. Um, you've always come across very humble, but how did it feel being recognized as one of the most admired and inspiring women in the industry?
Well, first, being included in that group of women is very humbling itself because they're amazing leaders and trailblazers, as you say. But it's my reward is when you see somebody on LinkedIn that was, a leasing agent, and now they're a regional, or regional is now a VP, and just seeing people that you've touched and been able to work side by side, and watch them elevate. The award is nice. It's kind of embarrassing a little bit, but
Yeah.
but seeing people succeed around, that's such a reward, and I mean that sincerely. And
I
so,
know you do.
yeah.
I've reached out a few times working with, IMN, trying to get you on a panel or something. And one of the most things that I admire about you the most is you're always looking to lift up your team. And so you'll say, "Hey, not me. I'm beyond that. I want to give someone else an opportunity to be on this panel. And my job is to now lift up the next generation of people in the industry. And so, hey, let's get one of my team members on the team. I think it's Teresa, or I think it's Peyton, or I think it's Chap, or Jen, or someone else on the team." And I've always looked at that and been like, wow, that is so important in this industry to start really mentoring and lifting up the next generation as you start to look at your next steps in the industry.
Well, it's interesting. Giving somebody the spotlight gives them that opportunity for growth. And I recall my old marketing director, Anastasia, did not want to speak on a panel, and like that just had terrible angst to it. And now she's a natural.
Yeah, she's
So it
amazing.
just takes practice, I think. And you have all these people staring at you, and they can be a little nerve wracking.
Sure.
So
I know the first couple of times, I mean, I still get nervous before a panel or even before these podcasts. I'm like, imposter syndrome is really real, right? Because you're like, no, not me. Why am I up here? What? No.
you always have to prepare.
Yeah, you always have to prepare. So, um, I'm still new, so I'm still using the paper. And I've been watching a lot of different podcasts of people doing podcasts and just studying what they do. Who are some of the people that helped raise you and mentor you and teach you as you look back through your career? Who are some of the key people that stand out for you?
Well, early on, that would be Ann Henderson Cash. That's when I was with Trammell Crow. Wet behind the ears out of college, and I was with them almost a decade. But she was a really good leader, caring, listened, elevated, trained, and then of course Frances Nolan with Equity Residential. I can't say enough about Frances. She's a good friend.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is you meet people through our industries, and you end up being friends.
Yeah.
Even post mergers or post IPO, you stay connected to them because they're good people, they're good souls, and of course Alicia McPhee. I mean, you can't leave my invitation out.
No.
She because I went for multifamily, and then I was with Scattered, and Alicia McPhee and Marty Vaughn. Yeah, Marty Vaughn.
Just saw her at Blueprint.
Oh, that's right.
Weeks.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. But both of those women really took me under the wing and taught me the Scattered site, platform, and brought my multifamily experience into it, and kind of built that management platform, and what would make more sense to bring it all in line like that. So, and then now I'm in dedicated rental communities,
Yeah.
and it brings the best of both those worlds. But those leaders made it so that I was able to keep growing and learning and excelling, right? So I'm real big on, people brought me here. Who is the person that's bringing you there?
Right.
Like, surround yourself by success. Surround yourself by those that have a can-do attitude. You don't want, what does Teresa say? Mediocrity breeds mediocrity.
It sure does.
So you always you want to be behind those that want to keep drilling and getting higher and higher.
Yeah.
Business.
Putting yourself in a position of fear is scary, but when you're done with it and you're like, oh, I did it, there's such a sense of relief and a sense of accomplishment. And no matter what your career brings you, that lives with you forever. That can never be taken from you, right? Like, you overcame that thing and you just did it. I was down in Florida, or no, well, I was in New Orleans, and then and I don't know the real way. I think people are like, no, it's New Orleans. I'm like, New Orleans, I don't know.
Tomato.
So in Florida, these two states have city and state. You have alligators. And so I'm afraid of touching any sort of reptile. And I was down in the bayou in New Orleans, and they were bringing this little baby alligator around the boat. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not touching that alligator. Nope. And the guy comes like over, and I'm like, no, I'm good. Thank you. I'll pass. And he's like, no, you're not. And he just like puts it. I'm like, oh, and I like freak out. And I finally just grab the alligator, and I'm like, I did it. And I was so proud of myself in that moment. I hurried up and gave it back. But after that, I was like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Right. And you just kind of like
Step outside your comfort zone.
step outside of your.
It might have been a crocodile.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. I don't know the difference. I'm not from Florida. I'm from upstate New York. So I know nothing about.
Crocodiles are salt.
Oh,
And alligators are typically freshwater.
Oh, that's just the main difference. Huh. Look what I learned today. All right. So having guided teams through IPOs and mergers, those are high pressure scenarios. Those are high stress, a lot of stake, right? There's a lot at stake when you're going through an IPO or a merger. What was your approach to leading teams through those type of situations and things in the industry?
I think back, with my equity residential days, and we had about, 14,000 doors, and never thought somebody'd come in and scoop us up, and had some managers and regionals working there 14, 15 years. So there was a lot of angst around what does this mean for us?
Yeah. What does this mean for me?
Where will we be? So when you're at the higher end, you're usually on the cutting block.
Right.
I mean, that's part of the course. It becomes a natural, right? That you really have to explain that these companies that are buying out multifamily or whatnot, they're not coming in with an army of people to take your job.
Right.
They're needing your expertise. They're needing your knowledge of the market and of the community and knowing your residents. So, really just communicating the understanding that the field team people are probably the most safe in a merger,
Right.
to say the least. Keep doing what you're doing, keep being great, and most of the time they're still with them. So out in the field. So really just calming people down by having those conversations, and then, what do you mean? You're not going to be here? Yeah, probably not.
Quinn Residences is focused on adding supply. And I think that really ties into dedicated rental communities, right? And so these are communities that are purpose-built to turn into rentals. So one of the big things with Everresi Media and inside the vendor network, one of our main goals is to amplify the good in which we're doing in the industry, because so often their narrative or the perception is often wrong around the owners coming in, buying up all the houses. But I know that your CEO, Richard Ross, had pretty much coined that we're adding supply. He really early on started talking about that, and Quinn Residences started talking about like, hey, no, we're not taking supply. And with Quinn, you don't have a scattered lot approach. Yours has all been dedicated rental communities. So talk about the focus on adding supply at a time when the nation is facing a huge housing shortage, and how do you see BTR contributing to a long-term solution?
Oh, there's two
DRC.
questions. Yeah, it will take you some time.
Yeah, I will.
We are adding supply. We build very good homes, energy efficient homes. We have a solar project going, but you're right. It's about the education, right? And Richard spends a lot of time, with legislative people and the media, just trying to educate what we do. We are not taking homes away from people that could be buying those homes. We're actually building homes that they might not even be able to afford.
That's
right. So our renters, average rent is about $2,200. Well, when you buy a same like home, 3 and 4 bedrooms, fully loaded, backyard, stainless steel, the works, garages,
Power system.
the best shower systems ever. I'll never put in another one. I tell you that. It's 50% less than owning.
That's right.
You don't have the taxes, you don't have the insurance. It'd be perfect for somebody like my mom. She likes to call somebody and say, come fix my refrigerator, and not having to worry about who they're going to call. They're going to call us.
That's right.
We also maintain the exterior of the home, the lawn, the irrigation. We pressure wash, we mulch. You go onto a Quinn community and it almost feels like Disney World because we want to keep it tight.
Yeah.
And make people proud of where they live, and I think that's what we've achieved. We do a lot of resident testimonials, and it's such joy to hear these residents going, I feel like I'm in a neighborhood. I know my neighbors. I walk down. I know their children. They know my dog, but it's a rental community.
Yeah.
And then you have the other flip side where you've got, the grandparents chasing their grandchildren's, all over the country. And then you have the younger generation that doesn't really want to be tied.
They do.
My
Flexibility.
my first loan was a 30-year. So, and but this younger generation do not want to be tied. They might want to live in Charlotte, North Carolina for a few years and boom, pop down to Tampa. We actually have a lot of our residents bounce around the communities because now our brand is being known and how we handle our communities and take care of our residents. So we are part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Well, recently, Gregory Frank had interviewed Mark.
I know him.
Yeah, you do know him. You guys go way back. So he was interviewing Mark Souls at the NRHC, the North Carolina inaugural conference. And we talked about the hospitality industry. And when you look at a hotel, Marriott, Holiday Inn, depending on what your stay is going to entail or what your needs are for your stay, if you're just in and out, you might pop into a Holiday Inn. If you're staying a little bit longer, like this week, I'm staying the entire week in Atlanta. So I want a little more comfort of trying to stay on my personal schedule versus feel like I'm traveling. So hospitality is very much like our communities, our dedicated rental communities are serving certain types of renters or leasers. So my dad's 72 years old. It's my home that I per se grew up in. Same with your mom, right? That's the home you grew up in. But these homes are becoming to be too much. And so maybe they don't identify as hey, I want to go into a retirement home or something like that. So they want more of an active living. Or maybe they want to be around other younger families that there are kids outside because they enjoy that and they're sociable. So there's so many different products that I love in the DRC community that you can choose from. And my dad's coming down for Thanksgiving, or we're going to look around Charlotte. And I started to look and I was like, there could be more.
I think we have one in Troutman.
Yeah. So, and I love Troutman area.
Great property. And when you say about knowing your neighbors, we have walking paths, we have amenities, and we always have dog parks and playgrounds. The larger communities, we build the pools and the activity rooms and whatnot. But, being able to walk down the neighborhood and, you see people's homes decorated for Halloween or Christmas or whatnot. And it's like, wow, they decorate with such care. So
Yeah.
we've provided this exceptional home. And they've taken so much pride of living in that home that they've made it their own front yard. We also encourage things that some other companies might not allow, put your gym set in the garage, put your kids' playground in the backyard. We allow the basketball hoops, yes, it's not like a public street, but out front.
Right.
We were at the Spartanburg on our property, Tiger Point, and they had like 6 bicycles out in front of the house. And Kenny, one of our regional facilities manager, he goes, "That's the fun house. That's the fun house. Look at all those bikes."
Yeah.
But you could almost feel like you could feel the neighborhood feel just with a bunch of kids' bikes piled out in front of somebody's house.
The modern day leaseor or renter has changed.
Oh yes,
people choose to lease.
Yes,
it's not the American dream has changed. My son is 21 years old. He's working on becoming an airline pilot. He doesn't know where he's, no pun intended, going to land in the next couple of years.
That's a perfect example.
Wasn't right?
Yes,
and
yes.
It's like, well, is he going to get picked up with American or Delta? Does he need to be in Atlanta, Charlotte? So right now he's planted at my house, but when he graduates, now what? He doesn't want to lock in on a mortgage and then get a job opportunity and then, have to sell a home, buy a home. You can move within the ecosystem of Quinn Residences. I know what I expect when I lease a home from Quinn. I know what I'm going to experience from David White and his maintenance team, right? I know what home I'm going to move into because Peyton, over construction is looking for quality. Your builders, the way you vet builders and make sure that the builders are providing a good quality product, it's filling a need, not a hope for you guys to rent more homes. You're actually filling a need that the market is demanding and needs. And we have a major shortage of somewhere between 4 and 7 million. That number is constantly changing, but between 4 and 7 million single family homes, we have a shortage in this country.
Well, and a lot of times in case of your son, he might have a dog.
Right.
And we fence all of our yards. Even if it's a townhome, single family home, we provide a yard. And, even with the children, you want to be able to let your toddler out back and not having to worry about them wandering off.
Right.
I'm more of a dog person, but that's, that's for me.
But that's an alligator.
That's another big too, because, some people like the multifamily feel and the elevators and, the different aspects of multifamily, which is fine. But if you want a house and a yard, we are your person. We are where you need to come to.
Sure. And I think multifamily, again, it's just a product that fills a need. So when, I went through a divorce a handful of years ago, 7, 8 years ago, and it was the first time I lived on my own in 14 years. So to be honest with you, I was a little afraid to move into a single family dwelling. And so I wanted to move into an apartment. I wanted to be on the 3rd floor so no one would come in my window. But it filled my need. And so for 2 years, I lived there. I felt very safe. It was a Gray Star community. It was, I had a pool and all the amenities. But within 2 years, I decided, hey, I'm going to move out to the suburbs. My son's going to go to high school. He was in private school, then wanted to go to public. So we moved out there. It made sense for my family. And I think that adding the product that works for each and every person's family is where you guys are really filling a gap.
I'm at a Gray Star property too.
Yeah.
I have the same thought there. I'm by myself up here. I wouldn't want to necessarily be alone in a big house in a city that I'm not familiar with. So yeah, that does bring you a comfort from multifamily. Yeah. But the transition from multifamily is where we fill that gap, right?
So right.
You have this couple that's in a 1 or a 2 bedroom and now they have 2 kids. Boom, they have a dog. What's their next move? Dedicated rental communities. I mean, it's a natural segment.
It's a very natural segment.
Yeah.
So as we were developing the Everresi Media Kit, we started to study the personas of the resident, and we've identified 4. So you've got your early on students, right? The ones that maybe they've completed their undergraduate degree, then they're going to get their master's degree. So they don't want to live in student housing anymore, but they're also, want a nicer luxury apartment. They might have a job now, so they can afford a little bit of a nicer place. So they want that little step up. They want the amenities. Then you've got, like you just pointed out, the young growing family that's going into, just beginning to maybe decide that they want to have kids. So they start with a dog. So now they want a backyard. Then you've got that third group who says, hey, we have a couple kids, but we don't want to own a home. And then we have finally our parents. So there's 4 different, very unique
Stages.
Yeah. Of supply that your products are filling across the board.
So, and again, our rents are 50% of owning.
Right.
Some higher depending upon what state and municipality we're in.
Right.
So 50% is like the low end.
It's a big deal. So when we talk about the similarities in hospitality and the SFR DRC space, let's talk about the different product types that associate with the life cycle. So similar to hospitality, depending on if I'm traveling for work or I'm traveling for leisure, it may determine where I'm going to stay in which international or national hotel chain I may choose to stay in. Same thing for our industry in the dedicated rental community. Different products serve different where people are with different lives in their life cycle.
Hey, you could use that. We have 2 perfect examples. We have one in Decatur, Georgia. It's a townhome community, walkability. Second one in Greenville, townhome and infill. Those people want to be closer and to the downtown life. Whereas, again, back to the grandparents example, they may be out in Troutman at our Westmoreland community with the big backyards, big, larger homes, but not just right around the corner to a work environment, close to Publix and shopping and all those kind of things, but not the infill, right?
Right.
So that's a different product and a different feel.
That's right. And Quinn Residences are filling all those different product types.
That's right.
All right, so let's move into, we've touched on resident experience. Very proud of myself for not reading from too much of the paper. We are able to do that. Thank you. I'm growing here in real time growth before your eyes.
Gary will be really impressed.
Yes, Gary will be. So your leadership philosophy, getting your hands dirty, walk the talk, teach and elevate. Can you share a moment when that philosophy made all the difference?
Let's see.
Like getting your hands dirty out in the field. You enjoy being out in the field.
I do. I love being out in the field. Richard keeps me tied in here sometimes to keep me grounded. I love being a regional manager. Shout out to all the regional managers out there. Absolutely. Our 4 are amazing. And, they are out in the field all the time. And, they have banker tours and investor tours and whatnot. And the pride of showing, right? But I never ask somebody to do something I won't do, period. If I'm asking a salesperson to wipe down a house, I'll go with a bucket and wipe down the house. It's okay because I want our houses to look the best they possibly can.
Yeah.
So that's a walk the talk right there, right? Don't ask somebody to do something that you won't do yourself.
You're not going to do yourself.
It's that simple. That the whole. Oh, I'm the COO of the company. I don't do that anymore.
That's just baloney.
Yeah, that's just baloney. And Richard's the same way. Richard walks the talk, and he's very grounded. And I think having grounded leaders is really important. When you're getting the younger generation, getting to them that next step. It's very important.
Yeah, sometimes it's not the words that we're teaching, it's our actions.
Absolutely.
Through leadership and demonstrating again. At Preferred Floor and Tile is the same thing. If I walked onto a job site and one thing I used to always do is if I was walking up and I knew I had an installer in the house, I'd always check the back of their vehicle to see if there were any more cartons of material that needed to be brought in. Because I'm a big believer in less steps to get a job done. And I was taught that very early on to, show the installer that you appreciate them and you appreciate the hard work and every step matters. So I would get out of the car. I would always go look in the back of the van or their truck. And if there was a carton of material that hadn't been brought in yet, I would grab it and just bring it in. Don't walk in empty handed. And so that earned a lot, especially being a female or a woman in a construction industry. I think sometimes I never looked at it different because I was natural, didn't care.
Right.
But when you walk in as a woman, how many times we're like, oh, let me take that from you. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm carrying a carton of LVP. You just drop it down. They just note that. It's an unspoken thing that happens in those moments.
Yeah, and when you take over a community, I'm a stickler for a clean maintenance shop. Makes me nuts. Ask Kenny and David. They both know this.
Yes.
And, we take over a community maybe from a third-party management, and, we all get in there together and start tearing stuff apart. I was with Rachel in Greenville, and she's like, oh my God, these closets are making me crazy. I said, let's throw it out.
Cool.
What's in here? Oh, let's do it. What do you want to get rid of? And she's looking at me like I have 3 heads. I can throw stuff out. I'm like, yes, clean out the closet so it's organized. It also cleanses your thought process.
Sure.
Not a lot of clutter, So now we're working with HD, and they're doing like the inventory system, which is really interesting. We're testing it.
HD Supply?
Yeah, we're testing it out in Covington right now. Actually, David was out there last week putting that all together. Very excited about that program.
So you're talking about a inventory program, so you have all the little parts and pieces from a maintenance perspective to decrease how many times you're going in. So you have what you need when you need to fix it now.
Order once.
Yeah.
You know how many move outs you're having. It's the other thing about dedicated communities, right? You have the same parts. Back in my scattered site days and even some of the multifamily days, you didn't know what faucet was in which home.
Or how many layers of floor.
Or how many layers of flooring. That's very true. Or different flooring. That was always fun. Yeah. But, I think that also makes it more efficient of a system, and not only for HD Supply, but for our teams. They're not guessing because they're going from one property to the other. Do they have the same faucet? Well, they should.
Sure.
So, you're going to have one-offs with that supply chain issue. But for the most part, that also makes the dedicated rental communities more efficient.
Well, it's making it more cost-effective to build. You can analyze what you're purchasing year over year. It also helps. So now I'm with Palisade, right? We're a manufacturer. What it helps us do is keep the costs down. If we know that you're going to be buying this each and every year, it helps us not overproduce, not underproduce. It helps Home Depot understand what their purchasing needs to be. And so if we're not overbuying or underbuying, and we call it just-in-time ordering and purchasing, then it helps everyone be more cost-effective across the board, driving down cost. So it helps you, but it also helps the manufacturers. It helps the suppliers drive down costs. And then in turn, your cost per item should eventually go down. The more we start to apply technology, I'm excited about that. So what do you think is the hardest part about building and keeping a strong team in place?
I think the most difficult part is that they are not close enough to the corporate office. So we have this amazing team down in Orlando and over in Wilmington and up in Chattanooga, and like just giving you that geographic thought, right?
Yeah.
Staying in touch, is really important. Richard does a quarterly quorum where he addresses the entire company, including the field. I don't know if you noticed when you walked in, we have this Lego set going on.
Love it.
Yeah, it's kind of this is our second one. The second one.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's nice because everybody does their own little bag, and we post, hey, I did bag 8.
Yeah.
And then during the quorum, we realize we're talking about these Legos, and we're like, we need to do something for the field teams. Me and Amazon, we're on Amazon.
They're like, what Lego?
Found yes, exactly. And, found a house because obviously we build homes. So what's Lego we're going to buy?
Yeah.
A house. And, Cody shipped them out to every property, and we're going to do a little contest with them.
Oh.
So they all have the exact same Lego. Oh, when is this going to be posted?
Oh, couple weeks.
Okay. It's probably there. Okay, so they're gonna have a contest with this Lego set, similar to what we did in the office here. So kind of like bringing some of that energy from us to them. We do a candy guessing thing in a bowl, and Cody's sending them candy with the same kind of concept. With the regional managers will oversee all that fun stuff in the field. But I think that's the biggest challenge is the geographical separation. Because when I was with Equity in South Florida, we were all sitting on top of each other.
Yeah.
A manager could just, go from just making it up Hollywood down to Kendall because somebody was on maternity leave or whatnot. It was easier to keep everybody
Plugged in.
Yeah, plugged in. That's a great word.
Plugged in.
Plugged into what are we trying to do? Where are we trying to go? And how are you an important part of that?
Yes.
I walk around the corporate office going, nobody in this office makes money.
Right.
Everybody out in that field makes money. Those are our customers. This corporate office, our field team are our customers. So that's really important.
It's hard to maintain culture. So when I went through the same experience, we used to have a monthly celebration at the last company I worked with. And then we started growing. We expanded into Atlanta, expanded into Tampa. And then we would have we would call it celebration every month. And we had the Unicorn Award. And it was a big unicorn stuffed animal that I had found one day. And we named him Bubbles. And whoever had the unicorn got to pass the unicorn. But as we started to expand, I started to realize oh, well, the other markets. So we were like, are we going to ship Bubbles? Now we're shipping Bubbles across the country. So you have to stop for a minute. And as you scale and grow and get bigger, even if you're not a large organization and you've got to somehow maintain culture, or the culture evolves with the business evolving. It is one of the hardest things to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, you need to talk to field ops at the beginning. You're like, hey, and you're like screaming down the hall. Or in our case, we had one big open floor plan. I think we started with 5 employees, grew to 52, spread across the country. That's hard.
Yeah,
that's really hard. So, well, let's talk a little bit about the future and the outlook and legacy, because
get your sunglasses. The future's bright.
It's bright.
There you go.
I wear them at night. There are a lot of our audience probably doesn't know that song because we're going to date ourselves that we wear our
sunglasses at night. Yes, we do.
So what industry shifts or innovation excite you the most as we're looking for it? And we were talking about, there was a potential vendor in the office this morning, and some of those real fun, sexy things that are coming to the industry. What has you the most excited?
I got to tell you, at AI, and if you had asked me that a year and a half ago, those words would not have come out of my mouth. I have drank the Kool-Aid, as Teresa Steen says. I've become the believer in AI, and I use it more than I ever thought I would. But just how it's going to change how we do our business. This is not your 1980s property management. And
papers and clipboards.
We use Lease AI on our leasing and our delinquencies, and we're going to roll it out into the maintenance. And it's just, it does touch points that allow residents to get what they need or receive information quickly, but still allow the touch points of our staff on site. So it kind of takes that burden off the site people so that they can be more, one-on-one touch. It's like, stop emailing them, pick up the phone and call these people.
Right.
And that's a rebranding of our business is what that is going to be. So I'm really excited about it. And we haven't even tipped the iceberg of what the AI systems specific to our business is going to do.
Right. And there's so many panels, and we're getting ready to be at the NRHC in 2 days. We're here in Atlanta. The Georgia local chapter is having their annual conference. Jennifer Crenson is one of the co-chairs of this local chapter here. So you guys play a very active role. Richard plays a very active role in the NRHC and working with legislation and lobbyists to advocate for our industry and amplify the positive in what this industry really is doing.
And what's great about the NRHC is they have chapters all over where our communities are. Community manager Alyssa, she sent me a text and with pictures. She was at the Charlotte one, and I know this person, I know that person, and it was nice that we get to do this in Atlanta, but with the chapters evolving. I think there's one in Orlando now, Lisa. With it evolving, the teams once again bring them in, right? That they get to experience those conferences and meet other people in the same business too, right? Because most of our people come from multifamily. So very, very interested to see how that impacts our field teams going forward as the NRHC gets bigger.
Absolutely. And Richard was a big supporter of the Everresi mastermind groups. So we've got the 4 mastermind groups. Resident Journey, Field Operations, where these are specific mastermind groups. And thank you, Quinn, for participating in these mastermind groups and allowing your team members to participate in these discussions with vendors, because when we have collaboration, we come together, it bridges that gap. It does fuel culture, not just within Quinn, but in the big industry, right? And you guys become setting standards such as DRC, dedicated rental communities. We're actually changing words over here.
We are. We're rebranding.
We're rebranding the industry, not just Quinn Residences. So, final question, and I love this one. Your eyes just got really big, like, what is she going to do? No, because you never know with me.
True.
When you think about your legacy, and this is really special because I don't think you realize what a legacy you've probably already left in this space and the mark you've made in this space. But when you think about legacy, both at Quinn and in the industry overall, what do you hope people will say about the impact you and your team have had in this space?
My legacy. Am I that old?
You're not.
Let's see.
Old is in the mind.
Old is in the mind and the spirit, 100%. I'm gonna go back to the people again. That it's like I want somebody to look back and go, wow, I used to work for Colleen, and she took the time to show me how to, I'm making this up, read financial statements, or how to properly walk a house or a construction house, or setting the standard, raising their bar. So I think people winning is really important to me. Important to me.
I think that you'll have no problem that winning and your team's winning are part of your legacy, because I look around your office and the vibes that we walked into today, you can feel that you're winning here at Quinn Residences.
Cool place to work.
It's a really
cool place to work.
They've got all sorts of fun games and different things. So thank you again for being on Inside the Vendor Network. I appreciate you for carving out the time and allowing me.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun. And interesting.
Well, thank you for being on the show. And thank you to our audience for tuning in every Wednesday for Inside the Vendor Network. I am your host, Yvonne Kenny. Don't forget, join us in the private LinkedIn group and let's keep the conversation going. And thank you to our sponsor, Palisade Shower Systems. Thank you.
No caulking.
No caulking. Thank you.